Okay, so I wanted to take a break from Dragon Ball content to talk about fighting for One Piece, which is probably one of the worst fighting games that I've ever played. And it's funny because it feels like a psyop whenever I'm talking online about this game. Maybe it's just a terribly unfortunate name for the game, but nobody mentions this game at all online. Usually when the US doesn't get a game, there's a small clamoring of people who want to see it localized and brought over, but there's not really any import reviews, complaints, or anything that I've seen. It's like a game everyone just collectively wiped from their memory or something. The worst fighting game I've ever played is a bit of an exaggeration, but I think there's something to be said for a game that you expect to be flawed, but at least kind of fun, and then you play it and it's just not fun at all, even ironically. The game was released in Japan exclusively for the PlayStation 2 in 2005 and was developed by the developer Flat Out. This developer doesn't seem to have worked on many games, with the only games coming up under their name being the pretty obscure PlayStation 2 title Project Minerva and like this Japan-only retro platform parody game. The game features 13 characters, with the villain roster reaching up to the Water 7 arc of One Piece. And seeing how the Water 7 arc was wrapping up in the manga in 2005 with Frankie being introduced in this arc, that lets me know this game probably was not in production long, likely rushed to hit a holiday release date. And credit where credit is due, the menu UI and presentation had me very hopeful when I booted the game up. They're actually really well done, but there's like this weird vibe that they're trying to make this game feel a little more serious. The intro music even has that one orchestral piece that they use in most epic movie trailers. The actual battle graphics themselves also have an awkward style to them. They almost look too serious when the series itself is very jovial. It looks like they transport the One Piece universe into like the Elder Scrolls Oblivion. And one of the biggest things I always think about when playing a fighting game is the movement. If characters feel stiff and hard to combo with, then it makes me want to put the game down most of the time. For casual fighting games, I'm willing to excuse a lack of depth sometimes if it means the game is fun to play, even if it's broken. But this is not one of those games. The hitboxes in this game are really weird, and this seems to be in part due to just poor attack animation choice. Adapting Luffy's stretch powers into a fighting game presents its own challenges, and I understand that. But a lot of games tend to solve this by implementing his stretch as a follow-up for combos. There's also these awkward QuickTime input events that are not fun at all, even by crappy QuickTime event standards, and break the flow of these fights. It gives me so much whiplash. This basically functions as your grab, and depending on how much meter you have, you can input combos as fast as you can, and the window gets progressively faster the more meter you have. But the craziest thing is that the game will hype up these special attacks with crazy camera shifts and pauses, only for it to be the lamest attack animation ever. These are literally the same moves that you can perform without the grab, and because the camera here is so crappy, you don't even really get to see them perform the move that well. And I don't think the waste of meter and the time you have to wait for this to play out is worth ever using your grab, unless you're just about to die and you just need some confirmed damage. Also, what's with this after image thing that you can create sometimes? Apparently, if you press triangle on your controller, you can activate this like hyper or turbo mode, where your character can perform moves faster than usual. The mode lasts as long as you have meter or you don't get hit, and I found this to pretty much break the game. Rather than using it as intended to execute combos faster, you can just spam your neutral poke, which will keep your opponent in hit stun and let you just rack up damage until your meter runs out. And because meter builds so quickly, I pretty much use this to beat every fight in arcade mode. I assume this effect is supposed to look like the character is doing stuff at supersonic speeds, kind of like Akuma doing his Shungaku Satsu, or Sonic breaking the sound barrier in the Sonic Advance series. But in practice, it looks like someone just accidentally spawned in a bunch of models. It looks so bad. Oh, and I don't know who was in charge of environment design, but every time I'm fighting, There's at least something in the foreground of the camera that's blocking the view in some way. What was going on here? I don't know. And even without all of these gameplay issues, there's also another elephant in the room, just lack of game modes. And look, I know that having a lot of game modes is not a fighting game staple, but that's for a reason. One aspect of that is because these games often lived in arcades first and were later ported to home console. These arcade machines did not typically have campaigns, and understandably so. The other reason is tangentially tied to that. Players will put hours into a game to learn the characters and techniques and to practice to later play competitively. This is why a lot of anime fighting games that might put less into balancing or fighting mechanics usually include story modes or RPG elements. Basically, if your game lacks depth and is not competitive, then you have to find a reason to earn the player's return. And fighting for One Piece is none of these. It was a direct to PlayStation 2 game with no arcade equivalent and barely has functioning gameplay, let alone depth. All in all, there's just nothing going good for this game. I don't think it has a single redeeming quality, and something tells me everyone involved just kind of wants to forget this game existed, and I'm kind of messing that up by making this video. Anyway, this video is slightly outside of my normal topic of Dragon Ball video games. There's actually a lot of other anime games I want to talk about, including Bleach, Naruto, Fullmetal Alchemist, etc. Especially the bad ones and the ones we never got, like this game. So if you want to see me talk more about these, please kindly like this video and subscribe. It really goes a long way in terms of me making more of these videos. Thank you for watching, and bye.